comment les agents immobiliers peuvent améliorer le service aux clients et donner plus d'impact à leur programme marketing tout en réduisant les coûts et les risques. Comment augmenter la productivité et rentabilité en numérisant les processus? Comment créer un processus de vente immobilière intégré et fluide avec des API? Eh bien, Marilyn Wilson va nous expliquer tout ça.
Bonjour. I'm sorry I'm speaking English. My high school French is just not enough. So I'm here today to talk to you about increasing profits by digitizing your brokerage. One of the things that we find working with many brokers around the world is that we need to think about process in our business. We focus a lot on how to sell and how to make money, but at the end of the day, technology can really help us become more profitable if we think about how to leverage it effectively. So we're going to talk about several different ways to do that today. So why digitize your brokerage? What does it help with? There's many things that it really does. The first is to increase productivity and profit. Of course, the most important thing in a business, right? It also can help automate create many things that can happen consistently. When you're out in the field and you're selling, you can get very, very busy, right? It's very difficult sometimes to keep everything moving. And so technology can really be a great partner to help all of us to do business more consistently, which is really what makes for sales success, ultimately, is consistency. And we can close deals more quickly with much less risk. When everything is documented properly and all of the contracts are executed properly, it makes for a much less risky business and, ideally, a way to get paid more quickly when doing a transaction. It can also help with improving brand consistency. So if there are tools that you are using to deliver marketing pieces and all kinds of different communications from your company, it can make for a much more consistent experience and can help drive home the message that you'd like to deliver with your brand more effectively. It can, of course, reduce costs. We all know that being a real estate broker is not the most profitable business sometimes. It can be very difficult to make money. And then last and certainly not least is to help recruit and retain our sales professionals. If we have great technology solutions and better than some of our competitors, it will make it much more easy for us to maintain and to keep and to recruit the most amazing agents out there. So today we're looking, and there's several hundred amazing technology companies out there. Many of you, I'm sure, already have many of your own technology companies. And so how do you decide which ones to use? It gets overwhelming, doesn't it? There's just so many of them to think about. So we're going to give you some thoughts. One of the things I should tell you is that Wave Group is a research company. So we do many research projects, of course, mainly with North American consumers and North American brokers. But hopefully that some of these will be consistent with what you need in Europe as well. So first, recognizing that the consumer, the person that ultimately buys and sells the home, is driving. Sometimes we think about what we need and what's comfortable to us as people that are selling real estate, but the truth is they're the ones that provide the money, right? Without them, we have no business, but sometimes we forget about that. This is the number one thing that we hear from consumers when we talk to them. And as you know, there are now many places for them to reach out to you through online websites, through your own websites, through mobile solutions, through virtual tour solutions, many different ways. But what they tell us is that sometimes they feel like we don't, as brokers, don't get back to them as quickly as they would like us to. Now that's very simple, right? We all understand when we're in sales, we're supposed to respond. But again, what happens? Sometimes we get very busy. Sometimes we're out in an appointment with a client, and we forget this. So the number one thing really isn't about technology. It's more about a mindset that everything we do must be about getting back to the consumer instantly, right? Social media especially has changed our expectations of how quickly things happen, and so we must respond to that. Local. So many technologies are great at showing, a large region or even in the whole country, but what a customer's really looking for is that you know their particular market, right? They want to know that you understand the actual place that they're looking to purchase a home or to sell a home from. So when looking at technologies, think about that. What are the things that can help all of us within our company deliver localized information that will really help them understand, the customer understand that we know more than some of the other brokers that they may be talking to. And expertise, this is very important. Most brokers know more about the real estate market, and much of it is still up here, right? We forget sometimes how many things that we know and how to share that with people. And so it's very, very important to think about the ways that you can demonstrate that you're an expert. And I'll give you an example of something that I just heard. There was a broker who had a very expensive deal. I want to say it was about $1 million US, so about 1 million euros. And they thought that the transaction went perfectly well. They felt like everything was very smooth. There was no problems. Everything was just as it should be. And so they asked for feedback from their customer. And what they found was the customer said, "Oh yeah, it was okay." And they were like, "It was just okay? It wasn't great?" They said, "No, it seemed so easy. It seemed like you really didn't do very much work." So sometimes if you make it too easy, they don't understand all of the things that it goes through. It's not easy to sell a home or to buy a home these days, right? There's a lot of requirements, a lot of documents, but they didn't understand that. So it's very, very important that they understand your expertise. And it doesn't have to be, I'm so amazing, really, let me tell you how amazing I am, right? But it sort of has to be in a way that you explain to them all of the different things that you're doing. And it helps them understand, number one, helps them understand that things are moving along properly, but it also helps them understand how much you know and the expertise. And sometimes even sharing the things that can go wrong or that may have gone wrong in other transactions helps them too, because when they don't go wrong in your transaction, or if they do, they're prepared, and you keep them calm to say, "It's okay, we've got this, I've explained this to you before, I know how this happens, and we're going to help you through this, and it's going to be okay." So they can appreciate all of the things that you do. And again, technologies can help you demonstrate that, but a lot of it comes from the mindset of working with your customer as well. And education, here's one that we hear a lot. Customers many times appreciate their broker after the transaction more than they did during the transaction. And the reason is that they really are not aware of all of the steps and all of the work that you have to put in for them beforehand or even during. So what many customers suggest and ask us to tell all of you is please explain the entire process when we begin, not at the end. And then as we go through the process, help me understand where we are in the process and that we in fact have gotten through another step and that we're moving forward. Seems so simple, doesn't it? And yet these are the kinds of things that can really make a difference and can really help a technology and help a brokerage with their technologies be more effective with consumers. So one of the things at Wave Group that we like to do is, there are many different types of consultancies in real estate. We're the type that likes to deliver very grounded, realistic, practical results. Because I can come here and I can talk, tell you all the amazing things to do, and if at the end of the day, I'm not giving you practical things that are going to make your business stronger, it's just a waste of time, right? So that's really what we're here today, everything I'm going to show you today are things that some of our clients and customers have used and have seen great results from. So there's no reason to look at things that they haven't, right? So here's the first thing that we always talk about. We like to find diamonds, things that are very valuable, things that will always work, things that are going to make your business more strong, not, as we call them, shiny objects, right? We can say, oh, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. And it's very difficult to sometimes not get distracted because there are so many exciting ideas out there. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to find, and as I'm sure many of you are things that are truly going to make a difference in my business and are going to show a good return on investment. So if I spend $1, I should be making 10. If not, why do it? So we like to talk about what we call the sales success funnel, okay? And like every sales process, there are many, many steps to selling real estate. Sometimes we would like to think if we get a lead and we get somebody to write to us from a website, that immediately that turns into a customer. We know that's not true, right? And sometimes if we don't follow the steps systematically, we can lose energy and we can lose customers, and sometimes we can even lose them to a competitor, which is the worst thing that can happen. So really what we talk about is effectively managing all aspects of the transaction, from when you first talk to someone, to when you're getting to know them, to when you're educating them about what's going on in the market, to the effective way to actually have them decide to work with you, and then ultimately to sell the home quickly, and then of course, to maintain that client forever, right? We want referrals, we want repeat business, we know those are very, very valuable. So that's when we think about technology, we sort of organize it around a process like that. So one of the things that we're seeing a lot of now, which we're very excited about, are what are being called cloud-based brokerage platforms, okay? Many of you may suffer from not having one of these right now, where you may have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 different types of technologies, and yet they don't sort of connect, right? So you put information in one of the technologies, and then you must put the same information in another technology, and again, and again, and again. And what does that do? That costs time and money, right? So there's programs, this is one particular one in the US, and I'm sure there's many in Europe as well, that have found a way to connect all of the information seamlessly from one to the next, to the next, to the next. So you can actually track a customer from when they first started talking to you all the way through to the transaction, and then again as they might become a customer one more time. So these are very, very exciting platforms, and of course the use of APIs, which I'm sure many of you are aware of, are making these types of things possible. Now, we have a couple of other advantages in the US that unfortunately you don't have yet here, one of which is the multiple listing service. Some of you may have heard about what that is. But basically, that's one centralized database with all of the listings that are available that brokers can use together. The other thing we have, and this may be coming globally as well, is we have the Real Estate Standards Organization. And what we call RESO, what RESO does is it creates standardized information and standardized ways to describe real estate throughout North America, and hopefully throughout the world eventually. It makes everybody's life easier, especially data-driven technology companies who want to serve your needs. So let's begin at the top of the sales success funnel that I just showed you, and that would be with how do we find new potential customers, or how do we generate new leads? There's some really exciting things happening, and I bet there's some out on the floor today, with the area called predictive analytics, or big data, as many of us have referred to it as well. We have a brokerage we work with in San Francisco it's called Pacific Union. They do about 8 billion, with a B, billion euros a year in business. They're a very large brokerage. And what they found with programs like this is it can be very, very helpful, not only for recruiting and retention, but for actually finding potential new customers. So what predictive analytics can do is it can find customers, or find consumers, I should say, that are most likely to match the type of home that you might be selling. And then what they allow you to do is to tailor the marketing communications and the placement of the marketing communications to attract the type of customer that's most appropriate for that home. So today, many of us have a list of customers or potential clients or prospects that we work with. And we've met them through a variety of different locations, but we really don't know which would be, we would think of the highest priority opportunities for a particular home. With predictive analytics, that's changing. So now, instead of reaching out to 500 people, you might reach out to 50, but those 50 are much more likely to be the person that's interested in that particular type of home. And they're using all different types of information to come up with those recommendations, whether, all types of demographic and psychographic information. So it's very, very interesting. It's taking what we've always done and making it a much more scientific process. Now, brokers that are using these, are they replacing this completely with the normal processes? Of course not. They're layering these on top. And they're early, right? So we don't know yet exactly how well they're going to do. I can tell you, again, anecdotally, the customers we're working with are saying, wow, these are really helpful. And again, not only for attracting new clients, but also the brokers that work in their companies are very excited about this. When they walk in with this type of analysis to a potential new home seller, they're very excited about it because, of course, it demonstrates, again, that local expertise that I was describing earlier. Okay, so now that we've got them as a lead or someone that's a potential customer, how do we nurture them into becoming actual customers? This is sometimes where the process falls down, how do we keep talking to them? How do we keep sort of drawing them into us, building relationships with them, so that when they are ready to buy or sell, that we are the person that they choose. So the first recommendation, and this is not, I'm sure, news to you, but is to really focus on the familiar and on those that you're already connected with. Those are the people that are most likely to want to be doing business with you. And again, they're the easiest ones for you to find and to nurture because you already know them in many cases, or you may have done business with them in the past. So that's number one. Many times we see with new brokers that enter the market, they think that the most effective way is to go out to third parties and to just sort of buy leads. And of course that is one way to do it, but we find that people that are focusing more on those that they already have relationships with, the better off they're going to be. The next is to find ways to talk to them. So as I mentioned, local expertise is very important. So there are many products now that have, as we call it, pre-populated content or sort of templatized content that you can use, especially if you're not comfortable being a writer, which many of us are not. Many systems now will allow not only the sort of pre-created content, but also for you to add your own spin. So for you to talk about the latest development in a neighborhood, or to talk about the festival that's coming up, or the football championship that just happened, or whatever it might be that you think is going to help, create and nurture relationships with you. But these are the kinds of things that you want to, keep ongoing, stay with them again and again and again and again. And so when they begin to think about buying or selling, your name is the one that they think about first, and your brokerage's name. Now here's something that's really fun, and I'm sure you probably have it here as too, the video mail. How many have seen anybody do that yet? Anybody see that? A little bit? So this is really fun, and these are some of the, let me give you some of the statistics and tell you why it's great, but people that are using video mail say they're getting 81% more replies, 68% more of that communication is converting into something that becomes a customer, and 56% more referrals or repeat business from them. So they have very, very good results. And they're very simple to do. In fact, my job before I was in real estate was actually to build web camera software, so I'm pretty familiar with this topic. And you can literally put it on your desk, push a button. You can see like he's just talking right in front of his phone, right? Push it, say something very quickly, the kind of thing you probably normally would write, and then you push it to someone just like you would a regular email. It's super simple to use, and yet it feels so much more real and so much more, that somebody's very personalizing and customizing that message just for you. Then they took the time to actually tell you the story. So it feels like you're talking to someone in person, but you're just talking to them via email. So this is a really, really exciting opportunity. And again, many people are having great success using this. This is something that you can also use within your company, right? So if You want to invite someone to, your team to come to an event, or you want to talk about a great new listing that was just accomplished, or whatever, technology or topics that you want to talk about, this might be a great one to use. So this is a terrific and well-proven program. Okay, so next is now we've spent our time and we've encouraged them to talk to us and work with us, and they've gotten to know us, and hopefully we've gotten to know them a bit. So now what do? We want to sell that property. How do we get that sale? I'm sure many of you are very, very good at that and are probably looking at ways for technology to help you with that. But I'll show you just a couple of things that we see that work well. So the first one that we see is the automated listing presentation. Many of you probably have things that you've done on paper to date, but these are all done via technology. So you can pull in information from a variety of different listing organizations. You can share information about yourself, share information about the local community, a variety of different things. But bringing it on an iPad or on a phone or on your computer as opposed to just bringing a bunch of pieces of paper, it really does impress customers. And again, we've seen many of our customers in the US have great success by bringing this, especially to customers that may be more technology driven themselves. They really appreciate that. And then of course it's very easy to just email it to them so that they'll have it for future reference. And again, if you walk in and you have something that professional relative to someone who doesn't, what does that do for your, anybody that's trying to get that listing, and how does it make the people that work in your brokerages feel? Of course, they're very excited about that. Okay, effective promotion of the property. Now, once you've secured the listing, there's one thing I didn't mention and that are very helpful too. There's many, as we call them in the US, comparative market analysis tools that are online now as well. And if anybody has any interest in those, I'll be happy to talk about that after too. But let's talk about effective promotion of the property. So another area that many of the largest franchises in the US and largest brokerages in the US are using is what we call marketing automation. And this is where some of the ideas I was mentioning earlier about brand consistency come in. So if you have spent the time to build beautiful logos and beautiful templatized websites or beautiful templatized designs of flyers and things like that, we all know that sometimes people veer off of those, right? They don't use exactly what you believe is the best way to promote yourself and to promote your brand. So there's marketing automation tools where you simply input the listing information, and it populates onto mobile apps, onto flyers, onto websites, onto single listing websites, onto a variety of different places, all with the same look and feel, and all done literally with a pushing of one button. So it saves time, it saves money, and it makes sure that everything that you're doing is exactly the way that you would like it to be and as professional as you would like it to be. Now, Facebook, I've heard Matt Ferrara talking about this morning. Of course, Facebook is a global phenomenon, is an amazing technology, amazing company. In fact, we consult with Facebook in the US. I have to tell you, it's very fun to work with them. But what we asked them in a recent research that we did was, where are the best places for you to get leads that you do not pay for? And that can be through posts that you do, and some that you do pay for as well. And Facebook, by far, came up as the number one. The one that was number one in this study was actually a local website that's very strong. But beyond that, much stronger than in the U.S. we have Zillow and Trulia and Realtor.com, all of those places, and you have many around the globe as well. They were not as strong as Facebook was. So again, if you think about a place to generate brand awareness and excitement, listen to the types of things that Matt was talking about this morning, because there's a lot of really neat things to do there. And with social media promotion, there are lots of different ways to automate that now. Many tools will actually create a sort of a Facebook listing or a Facebook promotion for you right online, very, very simply and very, very easily. And Facebook ads, and many of you have probably tried them, are very, very inexpensive as well. So these are a great way, again, very practical way. We've seen many, many people get listings from these, and many, many people sell homes through these in the US and in North America. Okay, the next one is online transaction management software. and I'm sure it's in different places it's different. In many parts of around America, you have to have so much paperwork, so many different types of contracts and agreements. And it becomes very overwhelming to the customer that's ultimately filling it out. But importantly, as the broker, mistakes can be made. We can lose things. We cannot completely document as we should, and things get in trouble because of that. So the first of electronic forms, those can be very, very helpful. Super easy to complete, fill out. Again, much less expensive. No paper to print, no paper to store. Not to mention documents after a transaction to store. And they can be very, very effective. Consumers really like these type of work because it makes them feel more comfortable that they can spend time with it and can review it in advance of actually having to sign on the dotted line, so to speak. And then transaction management systems, there are many, many of these now, but these, again, can be very helpful. It can be difficult sometimes to get brokers to transition over to this, but I can tell you in every case of brokers we work with in the US, once they do, they can't believe they didn't do it sooner. It just saves so much time and energy. It's just very, very easy to use those things. And again, now you've got everything documented. And you have electronic signatures, which I'm sure many of you are using, DocuSign and others. Those are amazing too. We actually did a study in partnership with DocuSign and a couple of other US providers and found out that some electronic signature software is very scary. You have to use the right one in these cases. Sometimes someone can change the selling price after a contract has been signed, unless you're using the right type of technology. So be very, very careful here, but these can be very, very exciting technologies. So what are the reasons for using that? Well, first is just to document all of the communications and flow in an entire transaction. Everything that you've now talked about is in one place, and it's very easy to go back to. And if anything is wrong after the fact, again, it's all documented. You can sign documents remotely and securely. We have many clients that have European and actually Asian customers that never come to the US. They only buy they buy their properties online using these types of technologies. So not only does it help your local customer, it can open up the global opportunities for you, and even just around Europe. It provides transparency to the home buyer and the seller. They really, really appreciate the opportunity to be able to see everything in writing, and ideally in advance of when the actual transaction is completed. Of course, it makes every organization more green. I'm sure many of you are trying to go more green and be more paperless. This is a great way to do that because you can have stacks at the end of a transaction, as you know. It reduces the risk of litigation and sometimes can even reduce the cost of broker insurance, which is great. So there's a lot of good reasons to do this. We have many, many clients, and I think pretty much every one of the large brokers we work with now in the US has gone to this route and has found very effective ways. Now, some have internal staff that do all of the work on these transaction management systems for their brokers. Others let each of the individual brokers work on it. That really depends on how you operate your business, but either way, they work very, very well. Okay, now getting the referral. Well, what we've heard from two different sets of research that we've seen is that somebody that gives you a reference or comes back to you is 6 times more likely to turn into a customer. So they're a very, very, very important source of leads. But how do we do that? Well, some of us are a little afraid sometimes to ask for those. Sometimes we kind of forget after we close a program. We say, I forget about that, or I get on to the next customer and I don't think about it anymore. So there are now programs that actually automate that program. And we're just launching one in our own company, actually, that you can actually put in your email signature if you'd like to. So every time that you write anything to a customer, you can actually invite them to give you a referral. There are outbound campaigns that go out in whatever time frame that you would like to do, whether that be every month, every 3 months, every 6 months, asking again, because sometimes you may sell a home, someone moves into a new neighborhood, and all of a sudden they have a whole new set of friends that maybe in fact be a referral for you. So again, another place where normally this was all done manually, or we'd have to remember to call someone. Now this is being done through technology. So pretty much every stage of the real estate sales process now, there's something that can help you with the pieces that you know are so important to your success. Collecting and publishing testimonials and feedback. Now in the US, we've had a lot of pushback on this. A lot of people saying, I don't think that somebody that bought a home or sold a home with me knows enough about real estate to be able to give me a proper testimonial or proper feedback. The truth is, customers don't care. We may feel that way, but they don't. So the idea that you can collect feedback from them on how good a job did I do? Was I a good negotiator? Was the house prepared? Did I bring you enough clients? Was the transaction management software helpful? All of those different types of questions can be asked and can be, again, one of the most important ways to generate new business and to generate attention towards your brokerage and to you as opposed to others. So there are many products now that will allow you to do this, but this is something that's very, very important because at the end of the day, the more that repeat business that we have, of course, the more profitable we become, right? And frankly, the less hard we have to work to continue to generate new customers all the time. So there are now many companies that provide these to individual brokerage organizations. There's some that are on third-party sites. I would suggest that you try to leverage these in whatever way that you can because it's a very, very important way to help a customer understand how good you are. We also have asked consumers about this, and one of the things they tell us is, some agents, some brokers are now sharing these reviews and these testimonials, and others aren't. And we feel like those that are not must have something to hide, which of course is probably not true in most cases, but that's their perception. So if we're going to do this, encourage everyone in your company to do this because it will help all of them. Even the younger, I shouldn't say younger, but newer people to the business that may not yet have closed as many transactions, some customers are looking for that type of that type of agent, someone that's new to the market, someone that's fresh, someone that might be their age. So it's, encourage every single one of them to do it regardless. And now what do you do after the purchase? Again, sometimes we forget, right? We forget to send things to them. We forget to reach out to them. We forget to talk to them as much as we probably should. So we just ask consumers in the US, what would they like to see? First of all, would they like to talk to their agent after the process closed? And pretty much I think it was 93% said, yes, absolutely, I want to maintain that relationship because they know so much about the real estate market. But two, they would really like to understand the valuation of their homes. So there are products out there now that will allow this, again, automated. You sign up a customer, and then on a monthly basis, it pushes an opportunity to them to tell them how much their home is worth now, what homes have sold in the market around them, if there are any other types of activities that make sense. So there's a variety of different things to do. But just understanding that home purchase is so important. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, purchase that most people make in their lifetimes, that if you can continue to help them understand and help them manage the value of that asset, they're very, very appreciative. Many of them are also interested in government regulations and taxes and anything else, again, that might affect the value of their home or their ability to sell their home. In the US, of course, as you know, we've had a lot of disasters lately. We've had hurricanes and we've had terrorist attacks. We've had many things, unfortunately, like you have. And many of those things can affect valuation too. So they want to understand those things in the short and in the long term. So remember that. So this is a whole cycle, right? We started at the beginning of how do I bring them in? How do I welcome them into talking to me? How do I help them nurture the leads and the relationship throughout the process? How do I make sure that once I am engaged with them, that I can make it as seamless and as stress-free as possible? And then once I have closed and have finished that transaction, how do I make sure that I stay in touch with them for the long haul? So again, many other ideas, but when thinking about technologies, we, again, always try to start with, let's look at how are these things tied back to what we know are the types of sales activities that work. The types of things that make our business profitable, the types of things that help us generate referral business and people that want to come and talk to us again and again. So sometimes it's easy to just say, oh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool, and that's great. They are. But the truth is, they need to be tied back to something that means something. And again, when I looked around today, there's many, many technologies out here that do that. But maybe even ask them the question to start the conversation. How will you help my brokerage be more successful? What is the thing? Why are you doing this, right? Sometimes we find that technologies have been born out of a frustration. They've been born out of a simple, somebody was going through the process of purchasing or selling a home and felt like something wasn't working. Sometimes those are amazing and they hit the mark. Sometimes, though, they come from folks that really don't understand real estate and don't understand the rules that you have to follow. There are rules, right? There's laws, there's regulations in place. So make sure that when you're thinking about it, think about what it is, how will it help my business? Do I currently have something that already helps me in that way? And would this one be better? Would it be incremental to that? Or is it something that I should not work on right now if it's something that I'm working with? And then also, one important question to ask is about training and support. Some companies are amazing at delivering the technology, but when you're trying to learn how to use it, or one of your people in your company are trying to learn how to use it, they're not as good at it. And you cannot get them on the phone or via text or via chat or whatever way that you want to speak with them, right? So if you can't learn how to use it, if it looks pretty, but it's not easy to use and it's difficult for people to embrace and to really adopt, it may not have the return on investment that you're looking for, even though it may be a great idea. Okay? All right, well, thank you very much. We have a newsletter that we publish once a month. If any of you would like it, it's in English, I'm sorry, but if any of you would like that, feel free to give me your business card. And I thank you very much. Have a great day.